Now we're going to do something cool. Get it on, Hendrix!
I can't.
Henley, what does mommy sound like on social media?
She sounds like a chicken.
What?
Yeah, not a chicken.
Yes, she does.
Sound like a chicken.
Yes, she does. So, back to the podcast.
Welcome to Hot Marriage Cool Parents. I'm your host, Jamie Otis Shayner.
And I am Douglas Hehner. And I have found an SD card with Jamie attempting to sing.
You did?
Back in the day, yeah.
Oh, for real? Like back in the day? Like
Yeah,
how
like-
long ago?
I saw...
I used to try really hard to
Yeah,
be a
because
singer.
it's that I saw a random SD card.
Okay.
Just lying around. And when I put it in, I think it was you at Lonnie's house.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, there were some artsy shots. You were
Oh,
like singing.
that is so embarrassing.
And you were next to like a campfire or a fireplace, like looking at the fireplace. It was like really
What?
dark. Yeah, it was interesting.
Interesting.
And
Now
then-
I want to
yeah,
see
and
this.
I think you were on that you were like behind a microphone and you introduced yourself
Oh,
and
that's
said I
not
wanted to
Lonnie's
sing.
house. That was... Were you kidding me?
No?
That was like a bar karaoke night.
No.
Yeah.
This was staged inside like a living room. Some of them.
What?
Yeah. Very interesting.
No, I'm sure me and everyone listening are
Yeah, it
like,
was really
I'm
neat.
like, what is this?
I know we have so many random SD cards around.
We have so many SD cards. I want to find all of our ones from South Africa.
Yeah, we have South Africa trip. We have our RV trip, which we went on last
Yeah.
summer, actually. And
It was a little over a year ago. And actually,
Yeah.
speaking of that,
greatest segue ever.
greatest segue to what?
Oh, I was
You're
talking-
like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, I thought you were going to go into our first stop, and because we had a few life events happen over the last week.
Yeah. See, I don't. Yeah.
I
So
didn't know if you wanted to get in.
yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. Man, it's really hard, and I'm gonna try real hard to hold it together because oh gosh, I feel like I can't even talk. Like,
yeah, it was one after the other.
yeah. So, and it seems like they were both sudden, although one. So we had two deaths in in the family, I guess. My grandma died, and that was sudden and shocking. And we'll talk about it. And then, literally a week later, I think it was literally a week
Yeah.
later.
Maybe not even a week.
Yeah, maybe not even a full week later. My friend Sarah passed as well. And
From ovarian cancer.
yeah. And honestly, it is just so much, just so much. And then on top of that, Henley's had hand, foot, and mouth. Hendrix had it first, then Henley. And now I think I have it. I'm not sure why I'm not sure.
You
if
sound stuffy.
I'm like, my body's like achy and my nose is stuffy / runny. And I have a couple sores in my mouth, but I thought that you would have a really sore throat with hand, foot, and mouth.
Yeah,
And I
I don't
don't
know.
have that. So
All my mom keeps saying, because she thinks she's a doctor because she worked in a
I know.
pediatrician office. It's worse for adults. It's worse. Stay away.
yeah.
But yeah, so we
You
had...
can't stay away from your kids though.
I know. So we started out the week though where Hendrix had a fever but woke up fine, and then so the next day Henley started to feel a little weird, but we took her to school, and there was a power outage at the school.
Yeah.
So all the air conditioning, everything shut off at her school, and they said
Yeah.
you can pick it. And this was like literally right after I had dropped her off, and took her to the doctor because the night before or 2 nights before she had thrown up and had a fever. And then I took her to urgent care right from her school. And at this point, she was fine.
Yeah, because I was talking to her teacher, and her teacher said, "Oh, she's complaining of a sore throat."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, she must have strep, and so she's going to need to go to the doctors and be diagnosed." And also, I was a little concerned about COVID because I know that COVID is going back around, and I was like, "Well, if she has that, I certainly don't want to, But I really thought if she had strep, she would need an antibiotic. So I said, "Doug."
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something for work that I couldn't get out of. And so I was like, "Doug, can you please take Henley to the doctors immediately?" He literally dropped her off at school and then literally went right back and picked her up. And I said, "Just take her right to the doctors," because she had that high fever, throwing up, and yeah, I just thought for sure she had
but
strep.
then she was fine when I picked her up. You would never tell that there was anything wrong with her.
I was like, Doug, how's she doing? And he goes, she's happy as a clam.
Yeah, like she is like a normal, like raging toddler.
Yeah, well, she's not a toddler anymore, but yeah.
And so I took her to the urgent, or not urgent care. I took her to her pediatrician, and she was like, I don't even need to run tests. She goes, she looked at her hand, she looked at her feet, and then in her mouth, and she was like, it's hand, foot, mouth, and it's contagious. Yeah. And, we had Henley's birthday party planned coming up on Saturday. And so we had to cancel the birthday party because...
and that's what she was most upset about. Like, she didn't...
Well, push it back a week. We had to
I
postpone it.
So, it's the weekend, and I was like, we literally stayed home. It was like back in the day, COVID days when like you were hunkering down and isolating. It was like that for us this last weekend. We didn't leave our house the whole entire weekend, which is... we're very social people.
Especially the kids. Like,
we go to like the parks and we just get out and play and all of this. And we literally stayed inside our house
they
for the whole weekend.
Crazy.
And so on Saturday when she was supposed to have her party, she just like had a meltdown because I said, no, honey, I had to cancel your party because you're still sick. And she's like, I'm not sick. Oh, I never got a Chuck E. Cheese party before. And yeah, she just had a meltdown.
I get it.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get it.
But there is something going. She turned 6 and her attitude
I know,
has just been off the wall.
Whenever I think a kid has an attitude like that, I genuinely think she's just looking for attention.
She is saying no to everything.
I think she needs...
It doesn't matter what it is.
Some one-on-one time.
Like, Henley, come here real quick. No, that's okay. Like, Henley, pick up your stuff. No, not right now.
Yeah, she doesn't want to do anything.
And then she'll scream at you that you're rude, which is bizarre. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that's just normal. And I honestly think that she just needs some one-on-one love and attention. I really think that any negative actions that your child takes, if you give them positive reinforcement over and over and over, it completely negates the they just start acting differently. They really do. Like, it's worked ever since Henley was a baby, and I'm just going to keep doing it and pray to God it works into our teens. If you guys have teens, those of you watching and listening, let us know if you have teens and that still works, because I just feel like whenever we all act out like that, like even as an adult, when you act like that, you're looking for love and attention or
something.
Yeah. And, so needless to say, every single podcast we share a 5-star review, and this week's 5-star review is so sweet.
Oh my God, it's great. This one comes from Amelia. It might be Emile Leal.
It's Emmy. Her name is Emmy.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for signing it, Emmy, because as you know...
Oh, Emmy, it's on the bottom. Look at that. Thank you.
As you know, we always struggle with
Amelia Lysep. Okay. It says, love you guys. Hello, my dear friends. You, of course, don't know me personally, but I relate to you so much. My family lost our sweet cousin Jason a little over a year ago due to drugs. We never knew he was suffering. Had we known he was going through addiction, we would have stepped in to help the best way we could. This is a reminder to everyone not to drown your pain and sorrows with drugs and alcohol. You never know when you'll take a nap, go to sleep, and just never wake up. Jamie, I recently finished your book, Wifey 101. The chapters where you talk about abortion really stuck a chord with me. I was in a very similar situation when I was 18. It still affects me to this day, many years later. I'm 30 now. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing the not so happy parts of life. Doug, thank you for being so vulnerable. Being vulnerable is courageous. Thank you both for being candid and share the joy of every day. Much love to you and your family, Emmy.
Oh, Emmy, thank you for that.
Yeah, that touched on everything.
Yeah, I feel like I do feel like we're friends, even though I don't know you personally, but I feel like and also I love your name, Emmy. I think that is the most beautiful name.
The part that sticks with me, and other than the addiction part and drugs and alcohol, it is seriously an epidemic. And for any parents that are out there, there are signs to look for. Step in as soon as possible in such a positive way. But it also brings me to where she says, share the joy of every day, which I think is just so meaningful right now, especially considering, the sudden deaths that have happened that we know about. I mean, it really puts things into perspective.
Yeah. So, I have always been someone who just, I don't know, like if I'm sick with a cold, I'm like, I'm sick with a cold, like I just like, I don't know, like, kind of complain about it or about, I don't know, anything really. Like, I don't think I'm a complainer per se, but I definitely didn't always, at least most recently, I haven't always tried to find like the joy of every day or the positives. And what I have really come to learn, and I like feel like I say it a lot, but I'm coming out of like 3 years of pretty deep depression and anxiety. And one thing I can tell you, if you're someone who's struggling with any of like depression or anxiety, is that when you try to find the genuine like positives and the joy of every day, you will just live such a better life. And speaking of living life, I mean, it really is the fact that my grandma died. I mean, granted, she was my grandma and she was in her late 70s. She had dementia. And so it was kind of a peaceful passing for her, like us as, like her family. Of course, no one really wants anyone to die, but if we had to choose a way for her to go, it couldn't have been better in the sense that she was playing cards. She absolutely loved playing cards. She was at her neighbor's, which was one of her best friends, playing cards, happy as could be. And then just according to her neighbor who told us like what happened, she basically just like put her head down and her neighbor was like, hey, like, and then she like fell to the ground and she just died. Like, but in a very peaceful, she was doing what she loved, like no pain, it was just her time.
I wonder if she said anything during the day, like if she knew there was something different about that day.
Well, you want to know something that's very, very interesting is my mom. Well, what's real interesting about this is that my mom and I have connected so much over my grandma's passing, which is so bizarre. Like it's like
that was a big step, I feel like, for you guys. I met your grandma 3 times, maybe 4 times, at family gatherings, and I just knew her through stories. But this was this the first family member that you had that you were close to that passed?
This is the first person who I've known my whole life who was really active in my life as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, she was always around when I was a child. And so, that is like difficult. Like it's just hard to understand really, but my mom and I have connected so much through it. Just, I don't know, just so much. Like it's just kind of bizarre. And I guess, and so what I was trying to say about finding the positive every single day is that you genuinely don't know your last day. But what I was telling you also, just prior to that was, because you said, but did she say anything that day? Well, my mom said that she had went over to my mom's house and my grandma gave her her cookbook. And that's just kind of like
randomly?
Yeah, just like randomly. I mean, this cookbook she's had for years, like decades and decades. And she gave her her cookbook and she put a cardinal in her tree. And I'm like, what tree do you have, Mom? Like in the middle of summer. But that's what my mom told me. And I remember I talked to my mom actually. So my mom, I don't know.
Some people say cardinal is a sign.
Oh yeah. This is very like interesting. So my mom just got back from like a 3-month like drug binge, and what my siblings and I have decided to do is to just love her unconditionally. I mean, if she's in her late 50s, if she's gonna do them, she's gonna do them. And of course, especially Emmy, I'm so sorry to hear about your cousin Jason and your loss, because it's awful. But for my mom and her drug addiction, it's like I would rather have a relationship with my mom, and even if I have to keep her arm's length away because she's an addict, I'd rather have a relationship with her than just none. Like, I mean, honestly, I always just wonder if she's dead or alive when I don't hear from her. So I just said, listen, Mom, like after her last really long binge, I was like, can you please just tell us if you're alive or dead? Like, just so we don't have to wonder. And, I'm going to love you either way. Of course, I'm not going to be able to see you as much. And so my mom and I have been talking, and she had her mom over, and they were supposed to get together that weekend. And so I knew that my mom like was happy to be reconnecting with her mom. And I just know, honestly, my biggest fear was with all of this is that my mom is going to relapse, because I mean, it's hard to stay away from the drugs.
Sure.
When
especially an event like that.
Yeah. And so that is
we don't, I mean, I don't know what your mom's triggers are, but
yeah, I don't either.
I know that, your grandma, your mom's mom, was someone that your mom was always sort of looking for approval from.
Yes.
It sounded, where she was always just trying to get her approval and just looking to her.
It's true.
After she passed, you had a conversation with your mom for like an hour.
Oh, it was like 3 hours.
Yeah, on the phone.
Yeah.
And I've never heard her more clear.
I know.
It was a different person on the phone.
Yeah.
Really.
And one thing that she said to me after her mom had passed, she says she feels freer now. And, my mom did spend her whole life chasing my grandma's like love and approval and acceptance. And, occasionally she got it. Of course, my mom was a drug addict. So there's a lot of people that just can't handle that. And I get that. have been one of them, like it is hard. But the fact that my mom feels like a weight is off her, in the sense that she doesn't have to she feels like her mom did love her and accept her. I don't know. It was all a very good passing, and never mind our children
Kids just
screaming in the back. Yeah. They're, out with Miss Ruth right now.
Yeah, but the kids are going to be home for the next couple of days because of the hurricane coming.
Yeah. So we have a hurricane coming, and it's just been utter chaos over here at the Hehners house because my grandma died. And then, after my grandma died, my friend Sarah texted me and said, she was praying for my mom, because obviously that's her mom. And that is the kind of person Sarah was. So Sarah is someone who I met on Instagram, and it was in December of 2021. So it really wasn't that long ago. I wrote something. I was struggling with like depression pretty bad. And I don't remember what I wrote, but I don't remember I have to find that post.
Yeah. I'd be interested in knowing how she reached out.
Yeah. She reached out as in a comment on my Instagram page. And she's basically said that she was re-diagnosed. It was during Christmas. She was re-diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And somehow, I mean, obviously a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram, but it's like we were destined to be friends and to know each other, because that one little comment, I pinned it, and she has forever changed my life, in the sense that to just really do find the joy in every single day. I mean, this woman was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She was in her 30s. She had a young boy. And when
about to go to kindergarten.
Yeah. And when speaking of like, our RV trip, and we were about to take, this cross country road trip, she said, oh, why don't you come to Pennsylvania where she lives? And we didn't end up going. Never mind the dog barking. Who knows at what? She was
always at the perfect times.
Yeah. She was, why don't you come and meet me in Pennsylvania? And we didn't end up being Pennsylvania that we met. We ended up meeting in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, her and her family came down to the D.C.
area
RV park.
Yeah.
Where we were at.
And we really just hit it off immediately. I mean, her story was so incredibly heartbreaking, but yet she was so strong and bold and never wanted pity, never was like, woe is me, even though she had every right and every reason to be like that. And I think it's really important for me to try to share her legacy, I guess, and I don't know, because
she was taking advantage of every moment.
Oh yeah, she was trying to live living her best life all the way to the end. But what I wanted to say, and what I think she would want everyone, especially females, to hear was that, and now, this isn't anything, I'm just sharing a little bit about her in hopes that it raises awareness about ovarian cancer. The first thing about ovarian cancer is that there are no signs and symptoms, really. There's no way to screen for it. So it's really sad that we're in 2023 and there's no screening for this type of a cancer.
Is it almost like when they catch it, it's too late?
Kind of, yeah, because what happens is usually at that point, because there are no signs or symptoms early on. And so then by the time you start to have some signs and symptoms, well, then it's probably already spread a bit. And so one thing that you can do for ovarian cancer, first of all, Sarah was an anomaly in the sense that typically you get ovarian cancer after you go through menopause, or I think the average age is over 40, 40 and over, and she was in her 30s. So that's not cool. But they do say that if you have that BRCA gene, the BRCA gene, that it makes you higher risk for breast cancer, that you also want to be screened, get ultrasounds for your uterus and obviously your ovaries and whatnot, to just kind of see what's going on in there. And I almost wonder if that should be routine, how it doesn't hurt us to have ultrasounds, but
yeah, just to check. 'Cause
yeah,
the way she got it was real. Well, I mean, everything happens for a reason, that was just kind of, it's tough to,
that is hard
say,
to hear. Yeah.
But she was someone that, and correct me if I'm wrong, she had really difficult periods. And after she had her son, she had said, I want a hysterectomy.
Yes, that
to
is
take
true.
her ovaries out, and the doctors kind of talked her out of it and talked against it. You may want to have children when you're older, and we don't typically do it like this. And she was kind of really pushing for it. The doctors and her, they ended up deciding not to do the hysterectomy. And
Against her will. She was asking for this hysterectomy because...
Which would have taken out her ovaries? Is that how it works?
Well, I guess sometimes they take them out, sometimes they don't. If you're before you've had menopause, they might leave them. But Sarah...
It almost seemed like the way she put it was, if she would have had that done where the cancer was, it wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. So Sarah, the way she told us was essentially... She was, before she ever had ovarian cancer, she was having these awful periods, and they were just awful. And she was happy with her child, her first, her son, and she just wanted a hysterectomy. She wanted it all to be gone. And the doctors refused it. They said no, because you might change your mind and you might want another child. And so Sarah had no choice, of course, but to listen to the doctor, because she can't take out her own ovaries and give herself a hysterectomy. So she listened to the doctors, and then, no joke, I don't know, a year later or so, she's diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and then she does. And it's so sad that I can't. I wish I had more time to ask her more questions, because she really wanted to raise awareness about this. And I did interview her while I was on while we were on the road trip.
We do have a video of her out there.
Yeah. And I know that one thing that she would really want to share, though, is to be an advocate for your own health, because I know that it really hurt her and bothered her that, of course, she knew she wanted this hysterectomy. She felt like she needed to have this hysterectomy, and she was denied that, and then she never really pushed more for it. And so then she ends up with ovarian cancer. And the reason that these doctors didn't want to take her, organs away was the same exact reason. How can I say this? The reason that the doctors didn't want to give her a hysterectomy was so that she could have future children and be with her children if she wanted them. But them doing that took away the mother of the one child that she already had. And so truly, Sarah's biggest mission was why do doctors get to decide what to do with me and with my body? Because if the doctors got to choose what to do with my body, and now I'm fighting cancer, you know, and my son barely gets me because I have a chemo and I'm, you know, she's exhausted all the time and this, but she never complained about it. But, you know, and so she would just get so frustrated by that, because if the doctor had listened to what she wanted to do with her own body that wasn't hurting anybody at all, she would still be here and her son wouldn't be motherless right now. And so, you know, that's just something to think about, you know, and like, you know, you got to trust doctors and I do. And this is not like a do not trust doctors or anything like that. It's certainly not anything of that nature. But what it is be your own best advocate. Doctors really do want the best for you, of course, but you know you better than anybody. You know what you need more than anybody. And so constantly advocate for yourself. And that goes the same for your children as well. Like, you know your kids better than any doctor. They can have all the degrees in the world, but you're with your kids 24/7. You're with yourself 24/7. So, you know, don't be shy to speak up and say, hey, listen, actually this rash doesn't look normal. Can you please look into it a little bit more? Or if they kind of poo-poo you, go ahead and find someone else. And that's not to say, and of course, I mean, I'm a registered nurse. I absolutely believe in, you know, Western medicine and the doctors, but I also know that truly we are our own best advocates. And if we're not, well, I mean, as Sarah would say, like, I mean, you just have to be, because Sarah is no longer here. And if she had gotten what she had asked for originally, she would definitely still be here, because her issue was she wanted to have a full hysterectomy because she wanted to get rid of those periods that were really painful and whatnot. And chances are maybe that was one of her, I mean, it sounds like that was probably one of her first signs, and no one even really kind of caught on, because no one usually has ovarian cancer in their 30s. Sarah just happened to have it, and now she turned 40 and 1 month later, she's gone. It's just wild. And
but I think, I mean, you really built a connection with her. I mean, you actually met up with her again recently. Like you guys just recently hung out. I guess she was down in Florida, and you got a chance to meet her. And
well, no, Doug. I mean, Doug, what do you mean I had it?
Right? Yeah.
Well, we went down. So that's when we celebrated her birthday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, you went to celebrate her birthday. You got a chance to see her and pet a kangaroo together, or hold a kangaroo.
She really wanted to hold a sloth. She was so excited for her birthday. So, you know, before she came down. So she came down in July. We came to celebrate her birthday, or she came down to celebrate her birthday, and I just, you know, went to celebrate her birthday with her. And before this trip, I mean, this girl so badly wanted to hold a sloth and pet a sloth, and we were going to Pompano Beach.
She found the one place where you could hold both.
Yeah, and like, it was genuinely so cool, because we got to hold a kangaroo, like a baby kangaroo, and then she got to hold a sloth, and she was, you know, she was just
was she in a wheelchair
happy.
Then?
She was like in a walker, and she had oxygen. I mean, she had a really hard time, like staying mobile, and she just hated that. I mean, she so badly just wanted.
She was one of those firecracker type.
Oh my gosh, she really was. She was not like the sensitive Sally. Like, she was more like sarcastic and just fun loving and never complained. And so that's, I guess, like the biggest takeaway for me, is that for a woman who knew what she wanted with her body anyways, and then to know that she was kind of denied that because society thought that she might want more children.
Or the doctors thought best.
Well, I mean, that's like definitely a societal thing, like where women, if they're in their 30s and they're still able to make babies, then don't take those organs out because they might change their mind. Well, that's not fair. If she's in her 30s, she's already had a child, you know, I mean, there's such a fine line with that.
Well, real quick, I do want to get to one of our phenomenal sponsors of the show, Honey Love, which we talked about last week.
Yeah,
and this shapewear,
I genuinely love it. It
amazing.
Is so good. You say amazing.
Well, you look great.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think that women can embrace their body however they want, but sometimes when you're wearing that type of a dress and you just want to have yourself tucked in all the right areas, But like the worst thing is if you're wearing shapewear, and I swear to goodness, if you're listening, you probably know what I'm talking about, when like you go to sit down and it just like falls down, like it like rolls down, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not tucked in at all. Honey Love has like these flexible bonings that's like hidden in the side seam, so you seriously never have to worry about it rolling down. It stays put right where it's supposed to. And I have the Honey Love silhouette bra. It is so comfortable. It has no underwire, and you would think that without an underwire you'd kind of just flop around, but like you have such good support. I mean,
Your
honestly,
cleavage looks absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And if you check out honeylove.com, their Super Power Short is their best-selling shapewear with targeting compression technology that gives you added support where you need it, and
Less where you don't.
that's it. You can get 20% off at honeylove.com/coolparents. That's 20% off by going to honeylove.com/coolparents.
I genuinely can't recommend the Queen Brief shapewear enough. I mean, that's the one that I have, and I'm telling you, the boning in it, that it doesn't, it's just like the perfect amount of compression where you're not like feeling like you're, can't breathe, and it does not slide down. It genuinely doesn't. And it also doesn't like squeeze your butt cheeks. Like, you know how sometimes the shapewear can like dig into like your fat a little bit, and it just doesn't look flattering either. I don't know. It's great. The shapewear.
If you have a wedding coming up, if you know someone that has a wedding coming up, Honey Love came out on top for the best wedding day shapewear, which I think is
why. Honestly,
significant.
I think it's because you can actually breathe in it. It doesn't actually fall down, and it doesn't like squeeze you too much. Like I feel like some of the shapewear that I've had in the past, it will like squeeze into my thighs and then leave like a weird indentation. I swear, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever had shapewear, like.
And as a dude, I know a little bit about this.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, well, because guy underwear has the flap where we can just go to the bathroom by just separating it. Their shapewear actually has that too.
Yeah, that is actually
So you don't have to take everything off to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and that is also freaking amazing. So yeah, I'm thankful that they're a supporter of the show, because we are big time supporters of them.
Yes, honeylove.com/coolparents for 20% off. All right.
Let's get back to it.
Yeah. There are so many things that you can complain about, and there's so many things that happen that are frustrating. This woman, Sarah, her one wish, because she knew that she was slowly dying, her one wish was to live long enough to see her son off to kindergarten. Like, that is... And she got to see him go. I think it was like 2 or 3 days.
Well, yeah. So when I was with her for her birthday,
That's all she wanted.
She couldn't wait to for her birthday, her 40th birthday. She was so excited for that. And then when I was with her, right after we sang happy birthday to her and she blew out the candles, we were just sitting at the table chit-chatting, and she said that like she, we didn't talk too much about the milestones that she's going to miss, or I don't know if she was in denial a little bit. I mean, they had recommended hospice, and she wasn't accepting it because she kept on taking the chemo treatment. I mean, she just went in for treatment number 6 a couple days before she died. I mean, she did not want to leave her son. She did not want to leave her family. She so badly wanted to live this life. She was so frustrated with her body. She texted me and said that she had fallen in the bathroom and she couldn't get herself up and no one was there. So she had to call the neighbor. And this is a woman that just, I mean, no one really wants that, but she just was so frustrated. And instead of anything else, she just said she was frustrated, and she just so badly wanted to live this life and to have these milestones with her with her son. And I just feel like if that isn't a wake-up call for all of us who complain about the weather, or we complain about, I don't know, just like the most, like a cold, or, I mean, this woman was in pain. She was in agony. She was begging for another day on earth with her family, and she still didn't complain. I mean, I was with her in Florida, and she took a tumble like out of the pool. I don't know if I told you this or not, but she like fell, and it was a hard hit. The woman didn't complain. She didn't it was just shocking to me. Like the way that she held herself and like with like grace and dignity, but also like it would have been completely fine if she did complain and like break down, but she didn't. And so I guess for me, the biggest change that this happened is from Sarah in my life, in the sense that, you know, right now my grandma died and then Sarah died, the hurricane's coming, Henley and Hendrix have been sick, I'm sick. And usually I would be like, oh man, like not another hit against me. But instead I am genuinely like, thank you, Jesus, that I'm alive. Thank you that my legs are working. Thank you that my body is I am just focusing on being so thankful, because I know that Sarah would love to be here right now prepping for a hurricane. You know, like she would have no qualms whatsoever having to hunker down at her house and isolate for a couple days because, you know, her kid has hand, foot, and mouth. So, I mean, she would love that problem. She would love she would love to have the problem of not being able to breathe through her nose for a couple days. I mean, the woman couldn't breathe without oxygen anyways. And so I think the biggest lesson that we can all take away from Sarah is that when I know for sure what she would want is for women to know that we can be an advocate for ourselves. It's not that we're not against doctors. She's never against a doctor, but sometimes you just happen to know yourself better, and doctors wouldn't have ever thought ovarian cancer for her because she wasn't even at that age range. Yet the woman died from ovarian cancer. And so if you feel something is amiss in your body, don't let anybody shame you or belittle you or like poo-poo you.
Get it checked out.
And if a doctor doesn't want to, then go to another one. And that's okay. And don't feel bad about that. That's the first thing I know Sarah would want me to say, like to you listening. The second thing that I know that she would be proud, I think, to know that I'm sharing about her, that she would have never asked. I mean, the woman never asked for a thing. I mean,
she really wanted to share her story and get her story out.
In the sense to help others, to hopefully prevent this from happening for someone else. And she really wanted screenings to become more prevalent and common. I mean, it is kind of crazy that in 2023, ovarian cancer, there is no screening, like, especially for a silent cancer like that. Like there should absolutely be a screening. But the other thing that I think she'd be really proud of is the fact that her character has left such an impact on my life. I mean, truly. And I hope that it will leave an impact on yours too, if you're listening, because if you think about, you know, when you complain about, you know, the food isn't salty enough, or, you know, it's cold and you're at a restaurant, you know, or
just like the little things that you bicker about.
Yeah. Or like the weather. God, it's raining again. It's so gloomy outside. Thank goodness we even get to enjoy or be around that gloomy weather. Thank goodness we can eat that food that doesn't even taste as warm or as salty as we'd like it to be. Thank goodness that we get to.
Talking about my cooking?
No. But like even with Henley and Hendrix, and if they're bickering and fighting, and it's like, thank goodness we're here to see the bickering and the fighting, because Sarah no longer gets to do any of that. No. And she so desperately wanted to stay on this earth. I mean, she did not want to go, and I'm going to hold it together. But, you know, for all the times that we can just so easily fall into the realm of complaining about like the mundane in life, don't forget that life can go by so fast and we're not promised tomorrow. And, you know, when I first met Sarah, she told me she had a 27% chance of being alive in 5 years. And sure enough, not even 2 years later, and she's gone. So. And
she knew that.
And so what I'm trying to say to you and to myself even, like I am like preaching to the choir over here too, because what I've been reminding myself every single day is that, first of all, right now, right here, we all think we have forever, right? Like we never think about death. Like I just never think about that. But it could come as fast as that.
Until someone you know like passes it. Because I hadn't thought about that in a while until recently, where it's just like they're just gone now. And it's so bizarre that like this person, this life is just over.
Yeah, I mean,
and like you just can't talk to the person anymore. It's like
It
was
is
just
so
really
bizarre because even now, like I'll like, we used to like DM a lot on Instagram, and like I would text her, and it's just so bizarre that I can't even do that anymore. And yeah. But I think, needless to say, that could happen to any single one of us. Like you listening in your earbuds to us, and then also us obviously sitting here talking to
Yeah.
you. I mean, we could be diagnosed with something. You just are never promised tomorrow. So if you take anything away from this, I know that Sarah would want you to advocate for yourself. If you've been feeling some sort of way or something's weighing on you, advocate for yourself. And you could be the anomaly. You could be the enigma. Like no one would have expected ovarian cancer for a young 30-something-year-old woman who has a child. I mean, she looked healthy as a clam. And
it's not something they normally check for.
but then by the time she was in the age range of ovarian cancer, she was already dead from it. So she would want you to just believe in your gut and to go out there and advocate for yourself a little bit more. Of course, trust doctors, but don't be scared to advocate for yourself as well. And then the other thing is man, like the next time you go to kind of just complain about like the wrong Starbucks order, or I don't know, the weather that's gloomy. I always complain about the weather. Like if
It's too hot out.
it's too cold, it's too hot. Oh, the driving, like like there's so many things that we complain about all day, every day. And we are just so lucky to be here on earth and get to live this life. We get to be with our children, with the ones that we love. So if nothing else, I hope and pray that for you today, and that for myself, and I am preaching to the
It's
choir.
like
let me tell
everybody
you.
knows that, but it takes someone dying to really put it into perspective.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows to take advantage of each day. But
Oh
then
yeah, you hear it all the time. It's
you
like
never apply it, and you never really get scared from it until you find someone that is in that situation.
Yeah.
Right? And cancer sucks.
It really
Cancer
does.
is the worst. You know, there's a really good show on Disney with Chris Hemsworth. You know, the guy that plays Thor.
I mean, he's gorgeous. Yes, I know who that guy
Yeah,
is.
he really is. You know, like I'm not gay, but if I was, he'd be one that I'd be attracted to.
He's quite gorgeous. Wasn't he? Oh no, that's Liam Hemsworth. Was Miley Cyrus's husband?
Yes,
Which one?
that was Liam.
Oh,
But
okay. So
they're both handsome.
they're both very handsome.
But
I'll take either of them.
he's got a show on Disney called Limitless.
I love that you don't even say anything to that.
It's fine. It's fine. It was either him or Channing Tatum. Or
I mean, he's
whatever.
pretty handsome too.
Yeah. But he was, the whole series is based on what you can do to fight back against old age.
Really?
Like how you can keep yourself young longer.
Where is this movie?
It's on Disney. I think it's
Okay.
called like Limitless, and it takes a scientific approach where it was like one of the episodes goes in because there's like some villages that are in Mexico where they're called the running people, and it's a tribe of women that work on the mountains, and to get to the nearest like settlement, it's a day away as a walk. So they all decided that they would run, and they run up mountains, even up until their grandparents run through these mountains to get to the next settlement and village.
What is that? This next settlement that inspires them to run up the hill.
But they're native, and they allowed scientists in, and the grandparents have better blood pressure, or just as good at blood pressure as the young kids, and they keep running. But one of his biggest fears was Alzheimer's, and the fact that you can live this whole life and you can build this beautiful family, and the kids and the experiences, like all of that being stripped away, that was his biggest fear.
That's one of my fears.
And that's why I wanted to get a cold bath too, because of all the like the ice bath things, because they have a whole episode on that about how it's so good for your immune system and everything, like just to get up to like 11 minutes a week in a cold bath, like in the ice bath.
What?
Yeah. But anyway, but on the show, it turns out that he has a genetic trait or a gene from his mom and his dad that he is 10% more likely to get Alzheimer's earlier. but there are ways
Who?
to
Liam Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, but there are ways to combat it, and they show you how important mitochondria is. They show how important keeping your brain sharp.
So
like
I gotta go watch this documentary now.
Yeah, one of the and I think it's great because one of the top brain scientists they meet up with, and her recommendation for him was to go on a 2 to 3 day journey through. They live in Australia, so through the outback, no phones, no anything. They took a helicopter ride and they took snapshots of where they would camp and where they would be in 2 days. They would have to make it up to this thing. And they said, she said, she goes, there is no better way to recenter your brain than to get out in the wilderness or just
Really?
without GPS, without phone, to map out, be in nature, because we're animals and we're from nature.
Yeah.
To be out in nature, plan a route, decide where to go, where to find food, where to camp out. All of that is so good for your brain without the distraction of other people. Like, yes, we need the social part of it because people that are alone are 50% more likely to develop dementia and Alzheimer's than people that are very social and live with other people. So,
Interesting.
So we need that, but we also need to separate ourselves from
Technology.
and you need to challenge your brain in different ways. That's the only way that you can keep your brain young.
Interesting.
And
Well,
it was really, really interesting. And, it kind of got a pep in my step for trying to eat healthier, and which I started to eat more vegetables, which was
That's
my
good.
first step. But just to really take better care
Yeah, you ate
of my
broccoli
body.
the other night
Because-
with dinner, and I'm like, you don't ever eat broccoli.
Well, because and even like working out, like your mitochondria are what really attacks not just fat muscles, but your biggest challenge is to stop moving. If you stop moving,
You lose it.
you lose everything. But if you do challenge yourself and if you do work out and just, something that is like high endurance, at least 2 hours a week, and then you kind of like work out the mitochondria in your muscles, you can build new ones. And that's really what fuels the rest of your body to combat sickness, to build your immune system, and to keep you longer.
Interesting.
You got to keep moving.
Well, speaking of that, the one last thing I was going to share that I found like it gives me goosebumps to think about is the fact that, so like, obviously I want to go watch this on Disney, this Chris Hemsworth thing. What's it called again?
I think it's like Limitless.
I mean, you would think, yeah. I want to go see that. So because I haven't, I don't usually watch Netflix. I usually like listen to a book online, like on audiobook, or I do like to watch true crime, but I'm trying to stay away from that because it really gives me anxiety. And it's just like not feel good at all. It's like just kind of depressing, but it's so shocking that like it always gets me hooked. But after watching, so when Sarah was in the hospital last, I just kept on, every day, what do I say to her? I don't live near her. She's in Pennsylvania. I'm in Florida. And I didn't want to just, what I found was that every single day I'm like, hey, how you doing? And it's like, that's like the worst question you can ask someone who's like literally dying from cancer.
She probably
how are you doing?
appreciated it though.
Well, she never complained. She literally never said, oh, this sucks, I hate this, or, and she literally was the most optimistic without being like toxic positivity. Like she was not toxic positivity. She was just like the perfect balance because, she said it like it was, like she wasn't fake, but she also wasn't like, oh, poor me, I have to go through chemo, or, like meanwhile I get a cold and I'm like, oh, Thug, can you get me some medicine? But
which is okay. I don't care.
Thank you. No,
Yeah,
but
fine.
I'm trying to be a little more like Sarah and just be like, Doug, I don't feel good. Can I get some medicine, please? But so I was trying to find a way to like kind of bond with her and connect with her. She's literally sitting in the hospital bed, and this is just so heartbreaking to me because, she's being kept away from her son when all she really wanted was to see her son and be around her son. And she knew her days were like numbered, of course. And, And I just wanted to help, like, I just really wanted to help her not think of that. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to help, like, ease that somehow, some way. And so I was like, oh, why don't we, like, try to watch a show together? And while she's in the hospital, she can watch it. And then I'll try to watch as much as I can because I have, like, kids and a husband and a wild house. But turns out I ended up watching more of the show than she did. But because...
Well, yeah, it was, 'cause I walked into the room one day and she just started watching. It was like matchmaking India or something
Indian
like that.
matchmaking on Netflix. And Sarah...
There's Jewish matchmaking on Netflix and Indian
Well,
matchmaking.
Sarah chose the Indian... Well, she gave me a choice. It was either Santa Clarita Diet or Indian matchmaking. And I was like... I tried watching Santa Clarita Diet before, and that just wasn't for me. It's like zombies and stuff, and I just can't go there. So I was like, okay, let's do the Indian matchmaking. And, you know, this is when she was in the hospital. And I started watching it, and we started bonding over different characters and who we liked and who we didn't like. And Seema Auntie, this woman who, like, matches all these Indians. And and then she gets discharged. And, of course, like, she just starts not, you know, she's obviously focused. I mean, when she's not in the hospital, I highly doubt she was like, well, I just sit down watching a Netflix show. But anyways, so she kind of fell behind me, but I would still, you know, reach out to her, just something to talk about other than the weather and how she's feeling. You know, like was in pain and she was tired, and that was
she
like,
a fan of Married at First Sight?
Yeah, okay. Of course. Yeah. She watched our season and I think that's how she found me and then began following me and whatever, but which would make sense. The whole Indian matchmaking, not surprised that she liked
the
it.
Reality matchmaking.
But this is the kind of like, I don't want to say eerie, but gives me goosebumps to even think about is that we started watching Indian matchmaking. I think there's 3 seasons out. And the same night that I finished the last episode that was available is the same exact night that she passed.
Yeah. And you guys started watching that show. Just decided to watch that show together.
Yeah. And she never got to finish it. Yeah. Life is short, and we really are so blessed to be here on earth with our loved ones, and there's always something to be thankful for, truly. And
call your parents.
Yeah.
Just to say hello.
Yeah. And you know, just a 360 that back to like my grandma and my mom, and, you know, don't let death become the reason that you A, have regrets, but B, that, you know, like, don't wait for death to happen before you go out and try to like say what you have to say to who you have to say it to. So, you know, one thing that helped me learn to forgive my mom and to just try to accept her as she is right now with drug addiction, with, you know, she's kind of wishy-washy and whatnot, but she's my mother, and not for nothing, but she did take care of me when I was a child. And there's just no good reason to just stay bitter and resentful. There really isn't. I mean, she's done some things to me in the past that have really, really hurt me and my siblings. I mean, she has hurt us so much, but if she died and I didn't have a relationship with her, that would be even more hurtful. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is if there's someone in your life that you are just kind of bitter, you don't ever want to forgive, you just want to cut them out of your life, you know, that's okay to like keep them at an arm's length, but try your best to think about if that person died and if you would be okay with where you're at right now with them. So my grandma and I were not very close, to be very honest. I mean, if you've read my book, Wifey 101, then you know, or if you've, you know, been around for a while, you know that, you know, we've had our issues. And so when Henley was a toddler and Hendrix was a baby, I did have a chance to talk to my grandma, and she apologized for what she had done. And I apologized too for being kind of like bitter and whatnot. And we hugged and we loved each other. And, you know, my grandma was never going to change per se, you know, but I can't tell you the amount of peace that I have knowing that maybe my grandma and I weren't close. Maybe we were never meant to be close, but there was no hard feelings between us. There was no resentment. There was nothing but love on both sides. And that is everything. So if you have someone in your mind that you're thinking of that, you know, you're not sure how you would feel if they passed away, maybe this is like your sign to just pray about it, think about it, meditate about it, like how you can go about just saying, hey, listen, you know, I know things haven't always been peachy with us, but
in a way it frees part of your soul.
It really does.
And frees part of your brain, because the people that you hold that resentment towards and that hatred, that, whether you like it or not, has such an effect on you, an effect on your being. And everybody knows the person that they just get the willies from, or you have someone in your life that you're just like, I just can't stand this person. Like, think about how you just think about getting that off of your chest and out of your being, and having it hold no space in your brain. That frees you up for more acceptance. That frees you up for more positivity. It allows you to look at forgiveness in a different way. You know, like Jamie said, you know, it's not like we were going to, you know, have your grandma and your mom over all the time, but you also, the change from when we first got together and first got married, I mean, you would literally have like diarrhea every time we went to go drive up to their house. Like you would sleep all the way up, and you just would leave. I mean, it was just so stressful. And once you get free of that, that stress and that part of you, just it's lighter.
But not even just that, because death is so final. And so there's an aspect to that of like when you can finally like forgive someone and then just be lighter while they're still here on earth. But death is so final. So like, for example, if I had never had that like chat with my grandma, I guarantee you I would just be, you know, have a whole lot of regrets. But it, you know, there's something about knowing that she died peacefully and that we were able to bond and forgive each other and love each other. And so, you know, I guess I just wanted to say before we head out that if there's someone that comes to your mind and you're like sitting there and you're like, yeah, I know, it's like she's talking to me, you know, because like I think that's how it happens. But and it's kind of scary, but if you can just think about if you knew if they died and then you would have like some sort of regret, like you wish you would have said something, then just muster up the courage to do it, to just go and talk to them, and even if they don't receive it well or they're not interested, that's fine. It's not necessarily even about them. It's really kind of just about you and you showing love and acceptance and forgiveness and just freeing yourself from that. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, they probably will do the same for you as well. So I don't know your situation, but that's what's been like for me. And I hope that for you as well.
Yeah, this has been kind of a different episode.
Yeah.
Of Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight.
Oh, yeah. Marriage, cool parents. But
yeah.
We we like bringing you guys into our lives, and it really does makes our heart happy seeing your comments and reviews and
yeah. And honestly, like the whole point of this is really to just connect with you on a deeper level and to just feel like we have more of a community. I mean, what is life without community and connection?
And for Jamie and I to have good conversations with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't ever have
This is our therapy.
This is like our own. This is the one time a week that we talk to each other, and we just happen to share it with you too. But no, like truly, thanks for being a part of our community. And, you know, I know a lot of you also follow me on Instagram, those of you who are listening to the podcast. And, you know, I have been trying to be more consistent there. Like I know that like I kind of got sporadic and I just have been really, truly struggling with like depression and anxiety for such a long time. And so I'm trying to be more consistent. But one thing I wanted to say before we go is just thank you so much for always being here. I mean, I I could leave for a couple days and you're still there. I could leave for a freaking week and you're there. I've taken a month off and you're still here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not for nothing, but my own mother hasn't always been like that. My grandma wasn't always like that. I mean, no one has been like that for me in my life, but you have been like that for me. And I am, well, my husband too, and my children. And
I know what you mean.
I'm genuinely so thankful for that. Like, I really appreciate this community that we have. I love my girlfriends. And and so I hope that this podcast has been meaningful to you, even when it is like, we really don't plan these per se. I know some people have like a whole thing of what they want to talk about. And, we really just kind of chat with you like you're just sitting at
we keep it current.
Yeah, if like we chat
As
with you
current
like
as
we're sitting at the table together having a cup of coffee, and
we do plan
just
on
chatting.
having guests on and some exciting guests on soon. And if there's anybody that you guys can think, or if there's anybody that you think of that maybe you would want to hear on the podcast, we are more than open to any suggestions. I know I've been thinking about reaching out to some of the past couples that we haven't talked to on Married at First Sight, and I think that would be
that would be real fun.
Yeah.
So anyways, well, we hope you have a great week. And if you had someone in your mind that I was talking about, just pray about it, meditate about it. There's no pressure, but you will feel freer and more connected if you're able to just get off your chest what you have to get off your chest with that person. I'll leave it at that. We love you guys. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.